Prep. So the question says the graph of a quadratic function f of x has a minimum of -2, -3 and passes through the point 2, 13. The function g of x is represented by the equation g of x equals negative of x plus 2, x minus 3. Now they're asking how much greater is the y-intercept of g of x than f of x. This is a pretty tedious problem because we have to figure out the graph of or the equation of the function g of x by foiling, and then we have to figure out the graph of function f of x with another formula. So because it's going to be a lot of work, I already wrote down the first half of the question right here for you. So the first half of question is talking about the minimum of a quadratic. Remember, they're talking about quadratic functions. So in case you've forgotten, I'll just give you a little overview about quadratic functions. Any function or any equation of the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0 is a quadratic function. And remember, the highest power of x is 2. And it actually looks like a parabola where it could be crossing maximum at 2 points on the x-axis. So, all right. So with that taken care of, I also want you to understand there is a vertex form of a quadratic function. Now, why did we pick this form? Because the vertex is given to you. What is the meaning of minimum is at -2, -3? That means this is your vertex. So vertex form of an equation is a x minus h whole squared plus k, where h and k is the vertex. Now, the question says that it's going to be a minimum, so that means that's the lowest point is the vertex of the given graph. Now, we already have this equation. We can say y equals, this is the vertex form. What we do here is we actually plug in the values of h and k, that is the vertex or the lowest point on the graph, which is already provided to us. So we can say that y equals a times, where a is just a number. This is a is same as this a. X minus h. What is h? -2. So it will become a positive 2 whole squared plus k. What is the second point of the vertex? -3. So I just plot it right here, plug it in, -3. Now this is the vertex form of an equation. The other thing they also told us as a part of this question was that this function passes through 213. So let us say there is a point 213 on that function as well. Whenever they tell you something like this, what they actually want you to do is you plug in 13 for y and 2 for x in this given equation that you already have set up with the vertex. So we can say that 13 equals a times, what is x? 2. 2 plus 2 whole squared minus 3. Positive times negative, negative. Now, why are we doing all this? The reason we came from this to this is that we needed to find the value of a, which is the first number of the equation. We did not know what our equation is going to look like. So this is pretty much trying to find out the equation for f of x. Because they are telling us to compare the y-intercept. Y-intercept is nothing but the value c. So we cannot compare until we have the equations of both the functions. All right, so 13 equals a. 2 plus 2 is 4, but 4 squared is 16. So 16 times a minus 3. We will add 3 on both the sides. We are trying to isolate a. So we'll have 16 equals 16a. We will divide both the sides by 16. And we will get a equals 1. All right, once we have a equals 1, we can go back and plug in a equals 1 in this equation, students, or the equation that we had right here. So we'll have our equation as for f of x equals, what was a? A was 1, x plus 2 whole squared minus 3. So I'll just draw a line here. It's not that confusing for you. All right, so we will have, instead of f of x, we can have y also. We can have y equals, a was 1, so I'm basically x plus 2 whole squared. Now x plus 2 whole squared can be actually further FOILed out or multiplied out using x plus 2 times x plus 2. And after foiling it, you should get x squared plus 4x plus 4 minus 3. So I already foiled it out, and this negative 3 is just sliding down. Well, our equation now looks like x squared plus 4x, 4 minus 3 is 1. All right, this is our equation for the first function. So I'll name it #1. I'm repeating myself. I just picked the first part of the question where I took the minimum. They already gave us the minimum in the question, and the graph was also passing through 2 and 13. I gave you a little overview of quadratic functions. Then we pick this vertex form of equation. Now, this is important here. If you don't know this formula of a vertex form of a quadratic function, you really cannot solve this question. The formulas are not provided on the test. Then I plugged in the given vertex for h and k. H and k are the vertex of the quadratic function. I also applied the point 2 and 13 because the equation is passing through 2 and 13. So 2 and 13 should be on the graph. Well, after doing that, I found out a to be 1. I plugged in a as 1 right here, as you can see, and solved the equation to get the given function. Now I have the first function. What I need to do is I need to find the second function, because we can only then compare their y coordinates. All right, let me let you see this fly away. And we will go back to our #2, which is the second part of the question. And for the second one, they are saying it's g of x, and g of x is negative of x plus 2 and x minus 3. This is a little bit easier than the previous one because they are giving us the function, and they're telling us, well, you can FOIL it out and see what the equation is going to come out to. So what I do is I just FOIL it out. I learned FOIL a little different way, but if you learned whichever way you learn to actually multiply these two expressions, it works as long as you have the right answer. All right, I'll just change the color here. So remember that negative was a part of the question. I'm still sliding it until I use it. X times x is x squared minus 3 times x, 3x, plus 2 times x, 2x, positive times negative, negative, 3 times 2, 6. For the people foiling it out, I'll also list it out for them. FOIL is first is x times x, which is x squared here. Outside here, outside here. So it'll be negative 3x. Inside, inside. It'll be 2x. And then last, negative 6. So these are the parts of the FOIL that I got, and which are the same as what I have here as well. So it'll be x squared minus x minus 6. But remember, I have a negative sign outside, which I need to distribute. So for the function g of x, my final answer should be negative x squared plus x plus 6. Now we had our g of x, and let us see what we had for f of x from the last slide. It was x squared plus 4x plus 1. So hopefully you have that in your notebook. And I copied the correct one. Now these are the two equations. Always remember, students, for quadratic functions, your last number c is going to be your y-intercept. What is the meaning of y-intercept? Y-intercept means it is the point where the graph is crossing the y-axis. Now for this function, our y-intercept for f of x is 1 and for g of x is 6. So how far away are they than each other? Then we can say that, well, the difference between the y-intercepts is going to be 5, because 6 minus 1 is 5. So that's how far away their y-intercepts are. So again, I repeat myself, read the question carefully. We broke it into two parts. It was dealing with quadratic, but you had to know a couple of formulas in order to be able to crack it. So I hope it made some sense. If you find a mistake, do let me know, and I'll be very, very happy to improve myself by rectifying my mistake. And again, I want to thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing. My subscribers are increasing, the views are increasing. It's all thanks to you guys. So hopefully I'll see you in my next video, and with another question for AZMerit. Math is fun. Bye.